Welcome back, friends, to a very special Sunday edition of Football Manager 2018. We are with AC Ajaccio, and I have gone through the off-season and the friendlies, and we're going to have a conversation today mostly about just how the transfers in the off-season went. We're not actually going to play any football today, so if you're not interested in kind of that type of stuff, then just pick it up on Monday when we'll start playing games again. But for today, let's go ahead and talk about how the season went. And we are going to start just as we finished talking about PSG. Paris Saint-Germain, what did they do in the offseason that we're starting our coverage of AC Ajaccio with them? Well, a couple things. The first of all, they managed to get Conte as their manager. That was the beginning of their offseason. They still have Mbappe. They still have De Ligt. Still got Pogba, so they've got a pretty good squad here. But if we go ahead and we check their transfer history, we'll see that they also potentially, why is it on the wrong year? There we go. They also brought in Hector Bellerin from Arsenal, paying up to potentially 50 million. And despite his age, he still looks pretty darn good at 32 years old. A pace of 19 and acceleration of 17 at 32 is it's a little bit above average as far as I can tell. So yeah, not too shabby. They also brought in for a cool $76 million Radim Makacek maybe from Valencia, and he's a very good Czech defenseman there. Pretty good. Yeah, I think that pretty well sums it up. They spent a little bit more money, almost 20 mil on Jan Novak from Sparta Praha, another 17 million on Ajax, for a total of 184 million, and did not sell anybody worth anything. They got a lot of players out on loan. That's about it. So must be nice that you can spend 184 mil without selling. To be fair, last year they made about a 10 mil profit, but it is what it is. All right, let's talk about our transfers then. So let's go to our transfer history, and we brought in a lot of people. Let's start with last season, just overall numbers. We bought a total of $6 million last season, and we sold a total of $17.5 million. We were in pounds earlier, so don't get confused with the numbers. We're on dollars at the moment because the other save, and I'm too lazy to switch it back, and it's easier for me to visualize dollars than pounds. So that's where we were last season. The big sell obviously was Alan Hernandez for $13.25 million, up to 20 million pounds. And if we take a look at his clauses there, we will see that, if I can find him down here. Here he is. He's managed to get 4 of his starts out of the 10 needed of international appearances. We gave him 1. He's managed to get 3 more, so he's still figuring in the American plans. 6 more, we get another 3.5 mil. Another 41 league appearances, so potentially the end of the season, depending on Cup and all that other sort of things that they end up doing. We may potentially see that money at the very end of the season or towards the beginning of next season, another 3.5 million. We also would get 20% profit of any money beyond 13.25 if they sell him on. And we're still getting installments, but we're also paying him installments. So he gets an extra $375,000 until, well, essentially one more payment of that. So that is that. That is the end of the Hernandez. That's what left us set up for this season. And there's a lot of names here. I ended up having to take away the authority of my general manager and head of youth development to sign players because they went a little bit crazy, as you can see. If it says free, they brought him in, not me. Where did we start? We started with striker, of course. Everything starts with striker. We had to replace Hernandez. How do we replace $20 million with $1.7 million? Hopefully very thriftily. We brought in Birge Akersvatne. There we go. Just Birge. That's what we're going with. And he looks pretty decent. Finishing a 17. Great first touch. Good free kicking. Good heading. Only jumping reach of 7. He's a whole 5'8". But if he can get to it, he can do a good job with it. So I think he's going to be okay. Good flair, good off the ball, good anticipation. I think he's going to score a lot of goals for us. Is he going to be the equal of Hernandez? That's going to be hard to say. Hernandez is very good, but I think he's a fair replacement, if not maybe quite an equal one. But only time will tell. So if nothing else, value for money, 1.7 mil for 20 million potentially. The next person we brought in was Claudia here, Goncalves. We brought him in from Portugal. He is Portuguese. But interestingly enough, he is homegrown. He is club trained for us, which is important because we have to have 4 club trained players on our roster for Champions League football. So we needed players that were worth having on the roster. Now, I overpaid for him. 2.9 million for what he is at 33 is too much money. But he ticks that club train box for us. We're not going to be embarrassed to put him in. He is going to play rotational. Probably that's the best, I would say. Maybe closer to backup. We'll see how it goes. But he's essentially an expensive squad depth option that ticks that box for Champions League. So, but he's not bad. The mentals are great. He'll be good for tutoring youngsters as well. He's still got good first touch. The technicals are decent. Physicals are going to drop off, but for midfield, he doesn't have to have super pace. So we'll see how it goes. We've got him for 2 seasons. If we have to dump him, we dump him. But he'll be, like I say, he'll be good for tutoring if nothing else. And then we brought in our backup goalkeeper because remember, at the time, we still had Shakarov, who you can see right there I dumped because his complete lack of dealing with pressure. So we brought in Eric Berg as the backup at this point, and he looks pretty good. Norwegian, 22 years old, good youngster. He can come in, be happy as the backup, and that's what he asked for was backup. So he's not going to be complaining like Rippert about not getting his touches, hopefully. And he's just a solid backup. I mean, that's essentially it. And then we needed a new starter because, as you can see, I did sell Shakarov. And we brought in Nemanja Kalakanen here, maybe just the Cali Cannon. The Polish Cannon played for the Oakland Raiders in California, so why can't we have a Serbian Cali Cannon, right? He looks very good. 15-15-12 over there, good handling. He's not as good on one-on-ones as Shakarov was, but we never saw Shakarov stop a one-on-one, so I think we saw him stop one, right? So who knows? He is resolute. Physicals are decent. Mentals are good. I think we're gonna be happy with him. Next player we paid for. See what I mean? Went a little bit crazy bringing players in. Was Massimo Scelzo here. Defensive left. We need help there. He's an upgrade from everything we have. His physicals are very good, aside from the natural fitness, unfortunately. He's 25 years old. We don't need him until he's 35, so that's not terrible. And his stamina is good, so he should be able to handle running up and down the field on a game-to-game basis, even if he doesn't stay in shape in the offseason. Mentals are very good. Positioning is great. He's got some flair. He's got some teamwork, good work rate. Technicals aren't spectacular, but marking of 13, tackling of 14, good technique. So those all balance out, and decent first touch. So what he lacks maybe in corners and crossing, he'll make up with that first touch and that technique. That's fingers crossed. That's what we hope. The problem is he is injury prone, so we'll have to see how we're going to deal with that. Players out. We sold Fer. By the way, Fer's that big final goal in the PSG. Not only was it the Ligue 1 goal of the month, it was the Ligue 1 goal of the year. So pretty big goal for his last appearance with us. We sold him to Voslan Bavaren, potentially $9.5 million. So not too shabby for that. We sold Shakarov to Nancy for $700K. We dumped Lenzini off on Lorient for $850, and we got $375 for Tom Rippert, oddly enough, which surprised me a little bit. We've got Sylvan Martins out on loan. He plays defensive right. I don't think we're going to need him this season, so the youngster can go out on loan. That should work. And that is about that. I have released a few other players, and I've got more that I'm trying to release. We had something like 40 players on the reserve team at one point, 20-year-olds that they just kept bringing in and bringing in and bringing in. And we still have too many. But that's after I've if we look at potential, I kind of decided anybody under 100 we didn't need. That's essentially what I decided. I thought about keeping some people. I like Malik Germany, actually. He's got a good range of stats, but again, he's not going to be good enough ever to play for the main team. So I don't care how useful he is on the reserves. He's he's fine. And we were running into problems with training. We didn't have enough time to spend with players. We had so many. These guys train, the reserves train with the senior team, and so we had to have coaching enough for everybody. And the senior team was complaining that there was not enough one-on-one coaching time for them, and so we had to go back through. And I'm going to have to readjust that. You can see just what I've done here just to get to average, right? I've got to have 3 people on every one and 4 people on some of them, 5 people there to get to average. And it's just because we have too many people, too many players. You know, we just got to bring it down so that we have enough coaches for the players that we have. So we'll continue to work that. The squad that we have at the moment looks something like this. Victor is suspended from yellow cards for last season to start the season, of course. But this is essentially our starting lineup. So we've got the Cali Cannon here in goal. We've got Ivo, Killian, and Suleiman back here on defense. I did look at trying to get some additional defensive help, and they chose to go out. So we had about 3 or 4 players that we were in the running for, and they chose other teams. They talked to us. They just ultimately chose to go with somebody else. So it's a step up from the past where they just outright said no. So we're going to have to make do with what we have on the defensive line here. So, but that's okay. I mean, Ivo's good. Killian's good. Suleiman, he's not too shabby. He's got, 14, 13, 14's good with good positioning and decent jumping reach. I'm actually pretty happy with him. And we have Pikachu as the backup to throw in there if we need him. And he's pretty solid as well. So, and then on top of that, we have a number of defensive midfielders that we could put in, like Peng Ben, Ludovic Benin. We have him on the senior team this year as well. And Claudia actually can play a little bit back there if we need to as well, with okay positioning, but really good marking and tackling. The problem is none of these guys can jump. That's the biggest issue. So that is what that is. Defensive right, it's going to look like Victor in to start with Baptiste Mason as the backup. If we run into serious problems, we can always bring back Sylvan off of loan and plug him there as well. On the left, we're going to try Massimo Scelzo, and then backing him up is Pascal Mathieu and Nicholas Henriksen Nielsen, who has been injured pretty much the rest of the time you've missed him. He is still out for another 10 days to a month. And in fact, can we look at that injury? I'll show you his kind of injury list here. Let's go current injuries. It doesn't tell us how long this one is. Can we look at history for him? You can see so far out essentially 2 months. And he's had a pretty, can we look at his injury history? Yes, I believe we can. So since we've had him, he's had 2 major injuries, both slip discs. So a total of 3 months missed there, another month on a hernia. So essentially, 2 of our 3 left wing backs are very injury prone. And so we're going to have to deal with that. So I actually considered, well, I tried to sell, I had Nelson transfer listed, but he's been injured, so nobody would touch him. But the more I thought about it, the more I decided, because we went through most of the preseason with just Pascal. And then we were having to take Killian out of defensive center to spell him, to keep from getting injuries and stuff. So I decided with the injury proneness of Massimo and Nicholas, we were better off with 3 mid-lefts on the roster, and we'll sort that out how we have to go. He's the worst now, but you can see he's got very good potential. In fact, he potentially, Massimo's got 148, but depending on how they get to that potential, he could be the best of the group. It's just a matter of dealing with injuries. So that's what we got there. In the center, I've got Legree and I've got Bentalab, and we could obviously run Legree in as well. He could play defensive center, again, jumping reach because he's 5'6", but otherwise he's very good. And he could play either wing as well. We could put him on the left or the right and be perfectly happy. He prefers the right, but we could go either way. He's a very versatile player. And then we've got Nabi Bentalab here. Did we talk about him? Was he on our list? Hold on. Let me go back to our transfer list. Did I miss him? Transfer history. Oh, that's released players. All transfers. Oh, because I didn't have to pay money for him. That's why we didn't talk about him. He was here as well. He was one of ours. He is going to play in there, and you can see he's very good. 142, 160 potential. He's old, 32 years old. We brought in a couple senior players between him and Claudia here, who's 33, because this is our last season here, and potentially our only season at Champions League, even if we were going to stay. I mean, we could easily fall out of this thing. We played a little bit above ourselves last season. I think we're a reasonable team this season to maintain that, but you never know. So we spent some money on a couple older players who are good now to take advantage of our window that we have right now. So Nabil here will play as well. He's going to be our starting mid center in here, and he still looks pretty decent. Pace and acceleration, we're going to drop off again, but like I say, for mid center, I don't really care that much. He doesn't have that much running to do. And his vision is good, and his work rate is good, and his off the ball is good, and his anticipation. I mean, his mentals are spectacular, and his physicals or his technicals are pretty decent as well. And even at the age, pace is the only thing that's not green there in the physicals. So spectacular Algerian, and the fact that we didn't have to spend any money to get him was even better. He is making a lot of money. He is our highest paid player, with Massimo right behind him. But I think he's going to be worth it for us. As striker, we've got T-Bone back, we've got Gabriel Mueller back, and we've got Bure Askervatne here as well. So pretty good strike package. So if we take a look at kind of current ability where we stand, you can see the majority of our team is above 124. Last season, we were looking for kind of around a 120-ish with a 130 as potential. Well, now we're sitting, the vast majority of our team is 130 and above. So we'll call it, say, 133 maybe for a current average. And our potential average, we've got some 160s, some 150s. So, maybe 150s are average there. So pretty good improvement in both places. We'll see how that goes. One of the things we did want to do, we wanted to improve our ability to deal with big games and pressure, specifically within our goalkeeping cadre, because we just had such a bad time with that. So let's take a look at that, and we'll take a look at important matches, and we'll put pressure up there as well. Replace this column with pressure, and you will see that amongst our starters, with the exception of Victor and Alan, we're pretty solid there. The Cali Cannon here, 19 and 12 for that, and Eric Berg is 15 and 17. So our goalkeepers, when we put them in, we know that they're going to be able to handle it. They're not going to mess up. Our defense is pretty good back here as well. Ivo's the worst of that, to be honest, and we could put Pikachu if we need to. He's marginally better. He's not as good a player, though, so we're probably better off going with Ivo. But, Victor, we could put Baptiste in. Baptiste is not great there either. But worst case, and Alan Legris is also there. So essentially wingback right. All the players that have historically played wingback right for us wilt under the pressure. And that's just what it is. But Legris, at least here in the center, we have some position swaps for him. We could put Ludovic, we could put Claude, we could put Jean Painbang in. Unfortunately, Bonnet is also not spectacular, and I considered selling him. I really did, but I think we'll get a lot of use out of him anyway, and hopefully we'll just try to stay out of those, the serious pressure cookers. And at the end of the season, if we're trying to finish down, well, he doesn't start. Somebody else does. Axel's a pretty good fill-in as well up at striker or at center, because remember, he's an attacking midfielder by trade, even if we played him. So we could put him in for Legris as well, and that might be our high-pressure guy to go that route. We do have Matteo Simon as well. Also very good as our backup. He's injured at the moment. But, great jumping reach. That's what I love about him, is the heading and jumping reach. Nicholas is injured as well. As far as the rest of our backups up here, we still got Jason Madu. He is transfer listed. Nobody really is looking for him, and I'm not trying too hard because, to be fair, he's played well for us, and I wouldn't hate getting stuck with him. It's just we're paying a lot of money for who he is. That's reality. It's just the salary is the only real negative for Jason Madu for us right now. So we'll just kind of have to see how it goes. Again, he's a strong player I'm happy with, and he doesn't like the important matches, but he's okay under pressure. This is kind of the issue here. Problem with Baptiste, as well. We already talked about the right wingers. So left we're okay, kind of 9 and 11. We're at least average. Massimo's 12 and 12. Henrik's 12 and 12. So we're kind of average there. But our wingers are clearly the weakness when it comes to the pressure games. We've got Alec Blanc, Axel Grossboy here, and Marco Bouchard as our backups for striker. Bouchard is a youngster we saw a little bit last season, and he's got very good technicals for us for a 19-year-old. His physicals are not spectacular, but they're solid. Copper disagrees with me. His mentals are coming along. There's some green in there with good decisions and determination and flair. I would love to see anticipation up a little higher. But beyond that, I'm pretty happy with that. And again, he can finish, which is nice. So he's there. Alex, we haven't seen much of. He's been on loan for the last 2 or 3 seasons. But he's got good physicals with a 17 strength. He's going to be a great target man with 13 heading. Jumping reach isn't spectacular. He's 6 feet tall. But that strength of 17 and a balance of 14 means he can get in there and mix it up in the box without getting knocked off. And he's only 19, so those numbers could go up. We'll wait for Copper to figure out where she's going to lie down here so she stops making noise. His mentals aren't spectacular at 19, but off the ball and decisions and aggression, oddly enough. Imagine that for our team. Being green, aggression being high, essentially. And his dribbling's okay. Finishing and first touch don't suck. And he can head, and he's got a decent long shot. He's got a good long shot on him, actually. May not be a fair, but we'll see, So that's kind of the roster that we're sitting at right now. Let's take a look, see how our friendlies went. We won them by an average of 4-zip, a clean sheet the entire way through, and we just absolutely dominated. You can see here, Bure got a goal in his first match. Mueller got a couple. Painben got one. Bure finished. This time, Legal and Mueller each got one, so all 3 of our strikers picked one up. In this one, Mueller, T-Bone, Bure all got goals with the hat trick for Mueller by the 15th minute. We had 4 goals by the 17th minute. It was crazy. We went on to Roma and crushed Roma 3-0. And you can see again, 3 strikers, Bure, Mueller, in this case, Grossboy in the second half got his. T-Bone didn't get one in that one. And then we continued on. Nabil Bentaleb, Mueller, again, another hat trick. Bure got a brace of goals and also had some assists, I believe, in that one. I suppose we could take a look at it really quick and find out maybe. Ajaccio stats. Yeah, there we go. So you can see he had an assist and 2 goals, 2 assists and 3 goals for Mueller. Legal had 3 assists. So not too shabby for our strikers there. Lots of key passes, and we created lots of chances. If we take a look at how the tactic as a general rule has done, we can come here to the analysis to tactics. Let's take a look at the last 5 matches, which are our friendlies. 5 started, 461 minutes played, 30 chances for, 1 against. So not only do we not give up any goals in those 5 matches, we only gave up 1 chance. Pretty good. Now, it says all those are smaller rated teams. Roma's not a smaller rated team. I mean, there's some teams in there that I don't know how they got away with that. I would say it was for the most part, a fairly similar, maybe 3 of them similar and 2 smaller ranked, maybe along that. Something along those lines. Historically, I would say most of them are bigger than us, but at the moment, we'll go with that. So we've done okay. Now, oddly enough, we are not starting with PSG. We've got PSG and Monaco both kind of in the middle of the halves, both the first half and the second half, about the same place. So we don't really have to worry about that too much. Now, my plan for this season is that we are going to do all of the Champions League games, and we are going to do all the cup matches. We've never won a cup, I don't think ever. So this is our last chance to get one. Obviously, it's our first time in Champions League. Do we get out of the first group? I don't know. I mean, we've got, 6 games in that first cup. I'm assuming there's 4 teams. We play each other twice. And then we're going to have the Coupe de France and the Coupe de la Ligue. So we've got at least a minimum of 8 games to play. And hopefully more than that. We'll see how it goes. But I do not plan on recording any of the league games this season. Ligue 1, we're just going to play in the background. We'll talk about it when we come to our other matches. But we're not going to play it. If we could probably realistically looking at, let's see, if we get 2 cup games each, even if we don't advance beyond this, 6, 8, that's 10 matches right there, which, I try to keep seasons closer to 8. But that's 2 full weeks worth of coverage, just with those 2. And if we go to a third week, we go to a third week. I don't have any issues with that. We're not trying to end it per se, but but we've seen league play. We've seen these teams before. And if we decide to come back with a SM Caen league save, we'll see more of them. So I just kind of think we're okay kind of aiming this at the champions in the Cup League. If you disagree, if there's some of these that you desperately want to see, if you want to see, rivals or something along those lines, we can take a look real quick and see. We don't really have any fierce rivals in our league. We don't really have, I guess, Nice. I guess Nice. And Nice, I don't know how they count as a local rival. They're not on an island, and I got to take 2 ferries and drive a bus to get over to them. But sure, why not? That's really our only rival there, and we could see that. Maybe let me see where Nice is going to fall in this group. So kind of towards this first one right in the middle of Champions League. I tell you what, if we fall out of Champions League, if we don't continue on at all, and we don't really have a whole lot to do in the second half, we'll come back for the Nice, and maybe we'll come back for Monaco, right? If we've got nothing else in the second half of the season, we can definitely come back for kind of the big kind of bugaboo games and our rivalry match. We sold about 10,500 tickets, season tickets, so we should be okay for that. We haven't really seen much here. You can see our one home game. We sold 9,600 against Roma, so that's not too bad. So I think that'll be okay. So that's my plan for the season. Let me know what you think, and we will get it started tomorrow, I suppose, and see how it goes. I've got to play. Initially, I thought, oh, well, this season will go really fast, right? And then I realized normally I record 8 to 10 of these kind of league games, and I'm not going to be recording any of those, so I have to play through all of them to get to these. So it's going to be a little extra work this season for me to get through a bigger season, essentially. But I think it's going to be fun. So I hope you guys have enjoyed the season so far. We are over 100 videos in this save, which blows my mind. And I've had a good time doing it. So I hope you guys have had a good time watching it. And I hope you enjoy this last season here with AC Ajaccio. Cheers.